change. This is not theory. It is evidence-based behavioral psychology. And just as Skinner's work has helped shape criminal justice reform and education policies globally, it must now guide our approach to road safety in Dominica. Honorable judges, when the law becomes a strict and consistent source of deterrence, rooted in Skinner's proven theory, then we begin to change not just laws, but minds and habits. That is the power of operant conditioning. That is the power of stricter penalties for death by dangerous driving. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly what Dominica needs. Secondly, let's consider the concept of deterrence. Deterrence works when individuals understand that severe, unavoidable consequences follow unlawful behavior. The World Health Organization 2022 confirms that meaningful penalties improve compliance with road safety laws. The human psyche avoids pain, fear, and loss. When drivers know that death by dangerous driving could lead to lengthy imprisonment or hefty fines, they are more likely to drive cautiously. No one wants to face 20 years in prison or an $80,000 fine, so they will act responsibly. Furthermore, Madam Moderator, our friends on the other side of the debate might argue that it is the small infractions we need to give stricter penalties to so that it curbs the habit. But here's the problem with that. While stricter penalties are essential for serious traffic offenses like death by dangerous driving, they should not be applied indiscriminately to all road misdemeanors. Legal systems across the world operate on the principle of proportionality, which holds that the severity of a punishment must match the seriousness of the offense. According to the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime 2020, overly harsh penalties for minor infractions can erode public trust in the justice system, overwhelm courts, and blur the distinction between minor negligence and criminal recklessness. Therefore, Madam Moderator, it is best that we introduce the more severe penalties for the more severe actions. If we treat them the same, we make serious offenses seem less serious. We use the smaller infractions as a warning, and like our mothers often say, who doesn't hear will feel, and that feeling for death by dangerous driving must be severe. To further cement this point, the Caribbean Development Bank 2023 emphasizes in its regional traffic safety policy. Enforcement must be proportionate and aligned with the risk posed to public safety. Madam Moderator, we don't need to bring a sledgehammer to every small mistake on the road. But when a driver's recklessness costs a life, the full weight of the law must follow. That's not just fair, it is necessary for justice, deterrence, and the safety of all Dominicans. Judges, I leave you with this. A moment of speed, a lifetime lost, and still no justice comes the cost. A grave is filled, a family cries, while the one who caused it simply drives. Let Dominica make it clear, a life taken must be there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Talbot. For the judges, her time was 6 minutes and 41 seconds. I'd now like to call on the second speaker from the Orion Academy, Mr. Jazz Maxwell, to the podium. Mr. Maxwell will have 7 minutes in which to deliver his arguments. Mr. Maxwell.
Distinguished invited guests, honorable judges, Madam Moderator, ladies and gentlemen of the audience and media, and my capable opponents, good afternoon and welcome. Today, we rise in firm opposition to the motion that introducing stricter penalties for causing death by dangerous driving would effectively reduce vehicular fatalities in Dominica. Now, let me be clear. Road safety is an issue of life and death. Dangerous driving is a serious offense that should never be taken lightly. The key word in this motion is effectively, and I stand before you today to argue that introducing stricter penalties will not effectively reduce vehicular fatalities in Dominica, just as they have not done so in other countries facing similar challenges. As my teammate stated earlier, there are 4 points which form the foundation of our argument. She has already eloquently expounded on the first two, and now I will address the final two. 1. Dominica's laws already align with international and regional standards. 2. Enforcement and education are more effective than stricter penalties. Honorable judges, I am sure we've all heard the term. If it isn't broken, don't fix it. Unfortunately, this is what my capable opponents want to do today. They are looking at a complex issue through narrow and overly emotional lenses and attempting to fix the only part of it that isn't broken. The Motor Vehicles and Road Traffic Act of Dominica, Section 51, clearly states that causing death by reckless or dangerous driving in Dominica is punishable by up to 10 years of imprisonment upon conviction. This means that a person who causes the death of someone by reckless driving is arrested, oftentimes remanded, stands trial before jury, and faces up to 10 years in prison. This fair judicial process is fully in line with regional and international standards. Capable opponents, allow me to enlighten you to the standards of other countries. Barbados, maximum of 10 years. Jamaica, maximum of 10 years. New Zealand, maximum of 10 years. Ireland, maximum of 10 years. United States, State of Alabama, maximum of 10 years. United States, State of California, maximum of 10 years. So Dominica is not behind. We are on par with our regional and international counterparts. Madam Moderator, the penalties permitted in our laws are fair and reasonable. Our laws are not the problem. Which brings me to my second point. Enforcement and education are more effective than stricter penalties. Laws must be enforced consistently, not just written or toughened on paper, because without enforcement, even the strictest laws are meaningless. Take, for example, the case of India. In their attempt to reduce fatalities caused by dangerous driving, they took the course my opponents are proposing today. They introduced harsher fines and severe punishments for causing traffic violations. India's Motor Vehicle Act Amendment of 2019 implemented up to a 900% increase in certain fines and stricter penalties for causing death by reckless driving. Did this have the intended result? No, it did not. According to a report by India's Ministry of Road Transport and Highways in 2018, before the amendment of the Motor Vehicles Act, the number of road fatalities caused by dangerous driving was over 157,000 in 2018. Post-implementation of the Act, there was a decrease, but it was not sustained. By 2022, the number rose to over 168,000, significantly more than what it was before the changes to the law. Capable opponents, India tried increasing penalties. It did not work. Why? An article from the Observer Research Foundation highlighted that inconsistent enforcement and lack of driver awareness is to blame. At the 2024 World Safety Conference, India's own road transport minister stated that the failure of the act has convinced him that merely increasing penalties is only marginally consequential in addressing the issue. He now believes the solution lies in promoting behavioral change using social and educational organizations. Madam Moderator, the problem lies not in the severity of our punishments, but in the lack of consistent enforcement and driver education. We face the same problem in Dominica. Drivers often believe they won't get caught, and sadly, in many cases, they are right. There are no traffic cameras. Traffic laws are poorly enforced. Police presence is limited, especially along our major highways, and road safety awareness is lacking. People continue to drive recklessly because they don't believe they will be held accountable. Furthermore, drivers are not properly educated. My opponents propose stricter penalties, but people do not even know what current penalties are. My team and I conducted a survey of drivers in Dominica. When asked, are you aware of the current legal penalties for causing death by dangerous driving in Dominica, 38.5% stated that they were not aware. 50% stated that they have heard of them but were not sure of the details. And a measly 11.5% stated that they were fully aware. Honorable judges, these are the people who drive the roads in Dominica. It is obvious that education is needed, but not just education of the penalties, since, as my teammate already stated, penalties alone are not a sufficient deterrent. A comprehensive road safety education campaign is needed, promoting responsible behavior and awareness of traffic laws. The campaign should utilize social media and other platforms, along with community involvement, to make the message relatable and impactful. Because the truth is, people do not change when the penalty increases. They change when constant messages sound a reminder into their subconscious. They change when infrastructure is conducive for safe driving. They change when they believe that laws will be enforced consistently. That is how we effect real change. In conclusion, let us not confuse severity with effectiveness. Real change will only come about when we shift our focus from punishment to prevention, from reactionary measures to proactive solutions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Maxwell. For the judges, his time was 7 minutes and 3 seconds. This concludes the prepared argument segment of the debate, and the debaters now have to prepare for their rebuttals. I will take this opportunity before we start the clock to allow them the time to prepare for the rebuttals. I will take this opportunity to acknowledge the wonderful sponsors that have made the Intersecondary Schools Debating Competition 2025 possible. I'm sure you can cast your eyes on the prize table, which is loaded, and the 4 months of competition. If people have been present, you would see it has taken a lot. So the sponsors, the major sponsor this year was Josephine Gabriel and Company Limited. National Bank of Dominica also came on board. Jay's Bookstore Limited, Dawasco. DBS Radio covered the event today. Q95 FM Radio, Domlec, Morrow and Company Limited, National Cooperative Credit Union, Fortium Hotel, HHV Whitchurch and Company Limited, Lindomat, the Insurance Company of the West Indies, Republic Bank, KFC, Dominica News Online, also covering the debate today, Variety News Group, the Watering Can, Finance Focus, and the Jolly's Pharmacy, and several individuals who I individually pestered to support, many of them my friends and colleagues, Corinne Prevost, Catherine Abraham, Dr. Joshua Lloyd and Mrs. Corinthia Lloyd, Uriah Jones, Janine Christian, Miguel Labadie, Shams, Eats and Treat, Charmaine, Freeman Consulting LLC, Masil Pascal and Grace Foundation, and Civic Vibes. So these are the numerous sponsors of the Intersecondary Schools Debating Competition 2025, and I thank them so much for their support. So I have given a little grace to the debaters. Timekeeper, can you please now set the clock to 5 minutes? The official 5 minutes now begins for the debaters to prepare their rebuttals. Audience, I ask you to give them some silence as much as possible to allow them to prepare. So the 5-minute clock starts now. Alright, so it's almost time for the rebuttal. And if you're in the audience, let me remind you that we do have a virtual audience, and I'd like you to, at this time, go to either DBS Radio's social media platform, DNO, MO News, any of the three, and share the live, because it is rebuttal time, it is debate time, and we need to spread the word so people in the virtual audience can increase, okay? These are the criteria for the rebuttal. The judges will be looking for team coordination, general analysis of debate, recall of points, ability to refute the points, and spontaneity. So these are the criteria for the rebuttal, and I think I have given a lot of extra time. It is now time to call on the first speaker from the proposing team, the Dominica Grammar School, Mr. Zadi Trocad, to deliver his rebuttal. He will have 3 minutes in which to do so. Mr. Trocad.
Ladies and gentlemen, today we are not here to argue about laws. We are here to argue about lives. Because in Dominica, our roads are becoming a game of luck and chance, of who gets to make it home today. Spoiler alert, not everyone wins. The opponent's points are like a beautifully wrapped gift with nothing inside. The opponents claim that we don't need harsher penalties, just enforcements, but enforcing weak laws still sends a weak message. Without serious consequences, enforcement means nothing. You don't build a fence to protect a plastic ring. You build it to protect something valuable. And human life deserves more protection than we currently give it. They also stated that they should be educated. But people already know what dangerous driving is. They know it can lead to death. The problem isn't ignorance, it is arrogance. Education without consequences is just a lecture they forget by the next ticket. If a rat can learn from punishment, so can a grown adult with a driver's license. And if they can't, then they shouldn't be allowed on the road. They also claim that most decisions happen in real time, under stress. But that is why we need stricter penalties. So, should drivers allowed to take someone's life just because of road rage? No, we need the stricter penalties. They also claim that our infrastructure is lacking. Yes, we know in Dominica that we lack road signs and traffic lights and all the necessary equipment. But that is the reason we need faster court systems along with stricter enforcement. When these incidents occur, the court will amply judge these cases and serve the necessary justice. So saying that we don't need penalties because we suffer the improper infrastructures is like saying you don't need a pencil, you cannot do an exam because you don't have a pencil. And then they also claim that 10 years is sufficient. But what is 10 years compared to a life lost? What about they face the same amount of time equal to the weight of a life? You say that 10 years is enough, but I assure you that these sentences are followed by added fines as seen in Singapore. Yes, people drive recklessly because they think that they can get away with it. But then that leads to death. But when that leads to death, the full weight of the law must come down on them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Trocad. For the judges, his rebuttal was 3 minutes and 8 seconds. I'd now like to call on the lead speaker from the Orion, Ms. Madlia Fountain, to the podium to deliver her rebuttal. She will have 3 minutes in which to do so.
Good morning all, once again. Honorable judges, I must commend my opponents for being so passionate about justice. However, I must ask, what is justice? Is it an emotional reaction to a triggered issue? Or is it a fair, well thought out and balanced solution to a complex problem? My opponents asked, why not Dominica? But even if we implement stricter penalties, what is that going to do when our law enforcement is lacking and our roads are bad? Other countries have stricter penalties and lower fatalities, but let us remember, correlation is not causation. Those countries don't just have stricter penalties, they have way better roads, and we know that for a fact. And they have stronger law and more professionally trained law enforcement. They also have driver education campaigns and awareness, and they have real accountability. My opponents mentioned that stricter penalties need law enforcement. Clearly, they have spoken on our side. Stricter penalties on paper sound impressive, but let's ask, who is enforcing them? That is the law enforcement. Just having stricter penalties will not do nothing if we don't have the law enforcement to properly maintain them. Stricter penalties will not force drivers to be more careful. If people aren't being caught or properly investigated, then even the harshest punishment won't do anything. My worthy opponents speak about justice, but justice is not vengeance. We already have shown that Dominica's laws are already in line with regional and international standards. And when someone is causing death by reckless driving, they do not just wake up that morning and say, I am going to kill somebody today. Any lawyer will tell you that intent matters. And no person will come with the intent to kill somebody on the road daily, will they? My opponents argued that stricter penalties will serve as a deterrent. However, our survey data says otherwise. 70% have already said they either rarely or never consider legal consequences when driving. And 88.5% said that they either know nothing or little about our penalties. How are stricter penalties supposed to deter them when they either don't think about it or they know little about it? Honorable judges, let's not confuse harsher laws with smarter solutions. If we truly want to reduce vehicle fatalities in Dominica, we must look beyond fear and punishment. Justice is not about reaction. It is about thinking. The real path to safer roads is prevention, improving infrastructure, and awareness campaigns. It's not about who we punish, but it's about who we protect. That's how we create a safer Dominica for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fontaine. For the judges, her time was 3 minutes and 15 seconds. So, ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the debate between the Dominica Grammar School and the Orion Academy. I'd like you to give a round of applause to the debaters. Who stood their ground, defended their sides, and now the work is left to the judges. So I'd like the judges' assistant to please at this time escort our judges to the room in which they will deliberate, and we expect them to return with the results in quick time. That's what we expect, right, audience? Yes, okay. So the judges are now retiring, and the debaters can now rejoin their team. So once again, from the Dominica Grammar School, we had Mr. Zadi Trocard and Miss Renee Talbot. You can now rejoin your colleagues. And from the Orion Academy, Miss Madlia Fountain and Mr. Jazz team. So I'm sure the debaters are sighing in relief. They have done their work with coaches and now also maybe giving sighs of relief, because I know the coaches are typically on edge during the debate and await the judge's decision. At this time, we have some special prizes to present. As I said in my introduction this morning, this debate competition encompassed participation from 11 secondary schools across Dominica, and we saw some great performances from these students. Not everybody can make it to the finals, but we do want to acknowledge some students who passed through the competition this year and made a mark. The first award we will be presenting today, it's accompanied by a video that I would like you all to turn your attention to. But we are giving an award today for the memorable orator. Typically throughout the debate series, people look at the debates and they pick out who stood out to them, and overwhelmingly, this individual has been the one named as standing out. So for this debate series, we have one memorable orator of the series, the most memorable orator. Please look at the video and you will see who that is.
It was cited by Dr. Ruby that the three main reasons for obesity are lack of exercise, environmental factors, and genetics. Well, I've got news for you. The body positivity movement has placed a check mark on A, exercise, which I've already mentioned, environmental factors like body shaming and discrimination, which my colleagues so gracefully discussed, and coping with obesity, even if caused by genetic issues. A coin has two sides. So taking a collaborative approach, it is crucial to acknowledge that obesity poses significant health risks. However, stigmatizing individuals based on their weight is counterproductive. The World Health Organization emphasizes that weight-based discrimination can lead to social isolation and mental health issues. A compassionate, a supportive approach, combined with evidence-based health education, is more effective in addressing obesity than shame and stigma. Body positivity advocates for a collaborative approach that addresses health concerns while fostering inclusivity and respect. In conclusion, honorable judges, the body positivity movement, when practiced authentically, does not desensitize adolescents to the health risks of obesity. Instead, it provides a framework for fostering healthy relationships with their bodies, empowering them to prioritize their well-being, and addressing health concerns with compassion and inclusivity. Thank you.
My history of conference that beauty pageants have evolved into an avenue for young women to obtain scholarships or a chance at a better life. But at what cost? A February 16, 2022 article in the Washington Post stated that many contestants find themselves caught in a cycle where their worth is measured solely by their appearance rather than their intellect or their character. These competitions focus on superficial qualities that can hinder personal development and reinforce sexist, regressive, and damaging societal norms. Are these the values and norms that we are to promote? In conclusion, Madam Moderator, beauty pageants are antiquated since they perpetuate exclusivity and fail to reflect the inclusive values that our modern society strives for. Their outdated standards objectification of women, and potential for harm have no place in a modern society that values diversity and inclusion. It is time to retire this relic of the past and embrace a more inclusive and holistic definition of beauty. Beauty pageants have no place in a truly inclusive society.
So, ladies and gentlemen, the memorable orator of the 2025 Intersecondary Schools Debating Competition is Miss Adore Defoe of the Wesley High School. So we congratulate her as she receives her award, and we hope to see her on many more stages in the future, giving us that oratory skill that she possesses. Miss Defoe, Wesley High School. The next special award that we will present is to some young men. One of the sponsors of the Intersecondary Schools Debating Competition, Ms. Mutessa Freeman of Freeman Consulting LLC, based in Maryland, USA, decided she watches the debates with much interest every year, and she decided this year she wanted to especially do something to recognize our young men who participated, who stood out. And she felt that it was important to encourage the young men. Young ladies, don't get disappointed. But when we looked at the participation in the debate, many people said, oh, it's girls alone, man, participating. The young men are not interested in debating. So we wanted to encourage, and Ms. Freeman wanted to encourage, male leadership and male interest in public speaking. And so she contributed 2 awards to that interest that she had, and these awards go to the following. One person is not here, but I see the teacher is here and she will accept on his behalf. From the Goodwill Secondary School, who participated in this competition for the first time this year, Mr. Giovanni Samuel is being awarded with the Male Leadership Award, and Mrs. Seraphine will accept the award on his behalf. He's a 5th former, and I'm told that SBAs have him on his toes, so he was not able to attend this morning. But from the Goodwill Secondary School, the award, Male Leadership, to Giovanni Samuel. And from the Orion Academy, Mr. Jazz Maxwell is also being awarded with this award, Male Leadership Award, sponsored by Freeman Consulting LLC. And Mr. Maxwell, of course, is a repeat entrant into the Intersecondary Schools Debating Competition. And as I said, for Mr. Samuel, I do hope Mr. Maxwell continues in the public speaking arena. So 2 young men recognized for their contributions, and I also want to encourage in general our young men to take part in this competition. Okay, so these are the special awards. The other awards will come when the judges give the results in a bit. So now we have some time for discussion. If there is the roaming mic, and okay, so Kiara, you will assist with people who want to contribute to the discussion. For today's discussion, we do have some prizes to encourage you to participate, young people, sponsored by KFC. So I am giving that as not a bribe, but just an encouragement to not be afraid of coming to the mic or giving a contribution to the mic. We just saw a very hotly argued debate on whether or not introducing stricter penalties for causing death by dangerous driving would effectively reduce vehicular fatalities in Dominica. We saw a lot of examples cited of some, well-known incidents of vehicular fatalities occurred recently. We saw the passionate plea for stricter penalties or the passionate plea for other measures to be taken to reduce these fatalities. My first question to you, the audience, and this is a simple one, so I'm directing it specifically to our students in the room, Dominica Grammar School, Orion Academy, the Dominica State College, Wesley High School, I see in the room. Do you believe from what you are seeing that dangerous driving is a significant issue in Dominica? Do you think that people driving dangerously is a big issue or a significant issue in Dominica? So let's get the conversation rolling. I see someone from the Wesley High School wants to bat first. What are your views on dangerous driving in Dominica? Is it indeed a significant issue?
Hi, good day. I do believe that is a significant issue because we have seen a lot of deaths due to vehicular damages. So it's a significant issue in the case that young people who have a potential or who has dreams to aspire or has a potential to do things for the Lord has gone away due to accidents or incidents. So if the laws are being provided to enforce what is going on to prevent the vehicular damages, then things will change. I do believe that it will change and things may occur differently.
Okay, so thank you. She started on the debate track. She started debating. I can see she has a particular stance on the argument. She can be our first recipient of a prize there from KFC. So thank you for opening up the discussion. Does anybody else want to contribute? Same question. As a young person here in Dominica, do you believe that dangerous driving is a significant issue from what you are seeing?
Good day, ladies and gentlemen. And as a student myself and as an individual who commutes to school every day, it is indeed a significant action as well, because only in Grand Bay we had 2 accidents. One we know as Showing Ulo, as well as 9 Bedminster. One died and the other one was amputated. So we can see that is a significant issue in Dominica. And our young men are either losing their lives, losing their body parts, or they are unable to continue their daily activities. And even us, regular people who don't drive, our life is still posed to a risk because those drivers, those incidents, we could be walking and we could be involved in those incidents. So it is indeed a great issue for us young people.
Okay, that is her view. She has cited 2 incidents. She can also get a prize from KFC for her contribution. That is a member of the DSC Literary and Debating Society. Let me acknowledge that club at the Dominica State College that I advise, the DSC Literary and Debating Society. So that is her view. She mentioned the young men, so I want to segue a bit into this aspect of the conversation, or you wanted to answer the first question, but I'm going to give you an added piece, right? So the first question was if you believe dangerous driving is a significant issue. The piece I'm adding is, do you think that it is a more significant issue for the bike riders in Dominica?
Okay, so first of all, as a student that travels to school every day, I witness reckless driving on the road. Whether it be somebody trying to overtake someone on a corner or a bus driver deliberately driving on the other side of the road. Furthermore, I have noticed that police do not really take a firm stance in this, as they seem to turn a blind eye. This is a significant issue in Dominica, as although no fatalities have occurred due to this, from what I know, it can result in a severe accident. Furthermore, what you said about young men, I do believe that it is a plaguing issue that troubles young men in particular. their ego, their pride, and their willingness to participate in accidents. Furthermore, it strengthens our. Furthermore, as a country, we need to take in more. We need to take in more strategies to prevent this from happening. I have witnessed that bikers, in particular, have started wearing protective gear to protect them on the road, whether that be a helmet or a bike vest. This is a great way to step in the right direction when you're not only preventing it, but you're also implementing strategies that can help people in the future.
Thank you. So from the Orion Academy, I see we have a budding debater there. What form are you in? Fourth form. Okay, so Mrs. Woodman, you have to get him on board for his fifth form year in the debating competition. But thank you for that contribution. You did make mention, and I want to steer the conversation in that area. You did make mention of the young men, their involvement in reckless driving and therefore vehicular accidents, the ego, possibly the risk-taking need that they have. You also mentioned the increased use you are seeing of protective gear. I want to further the discussion in this way. Do you believe that, so this is my next question, do you believe that if there were stricter penalties for dangerous driving, that it would reduce bike-related accidents, or do you believe that a greater enforcement of protective gear use would cause a reduction in some of the accidents and fatalities that we see? So do you think, this is my question, that the penalties or a protective gear push is where we should head? Protective gear push. The young man said he sees an increase in the use of protective gear. I don't see it. But I want to know if someone believes that a thrust to enforce or to make sure people wear protective gear, or having some stricter penalties on them for dangerous driving will do the trick. Anybody wants to take a stab at that? What do you believe? A thrust towards protective gear use, or creating some stricter penalties for dangerous driving? We're speaking specifically for bikers.
Good afternoon. Specifically when it comes to bikers, I don't think the stricter penalties will help, because I feel like something a lot of the times we see bike accidents is after fet. And so if I was drunk and I was getting on the bike, I wouldn't think, let me get off while the alcohol is buzzing through my head. So I don't really think it would help. And the enforcement of protective gear, I do think that would help, and I do think we need to do that.
Okay. So anybody, thank you, Hafsa. And Hafsa, of course, is a debater from the Orion Academy. Anybody else? Yes.
Yes, I do agree that enforcing stricter protective wear for bikers would enhance or prevent them from driving recklessly. I also saw bikers wearing protective gear, like more. So I do agree that it will prevent, I do agree that it will prevent it. And also, the accidents that would occur or have occurred has also more so made them, discourage them from driving without protective gear as well. So yeah.
Thank you, Kyla. From the DSC Literary and Debating Society. And I am now going to send out a question to the drivers. The drivers in the room. So people below the age of 18 in the room, that excludes you at this time. The drivers in the room, so adults, I'm on you for this response. When you go behind that wheel or when you drive, what causes you to want to drive carefully? What is the greatest factor on your mind to influence your driving?
I want to go first.
Wow, okay.
Primarily because I almost got into an accident a few times, and that is because of the quote-unquote reckless driving of a biker or another person driving the vehicle. So when I drive, I tend to think of not just myself, but also take precautions of the drivers who may do something that I don't expect. So what happened to me, I was driving under the cliff, and this biker is overtaking me on the left, and I did not see. And I was about to overtake this other vehicle in front of me who was driving below 20 miles per hour. So then I put my signal, and as I'm about to do this, I'm seeing this bike cutting in front of me on the left, and I had to press my brakes immediately. But at the time, remember, the vehicle is driving below 20 miles, so we're not really going fast, which helped to avoid some form of collision. So when I drive now, I have to think of when I'm driving, if somebody's looking at me, who's driving in front of me, who's driving behind me, to make sure that nothing else happens. So I'm driving for other people aside from myself. So that's what I take now. What's what I do now when I drive. And I want to mention something that someone said earlier about the bikers. There's an increase. You think there's an increase? That's just because some who join a bike club, there are rules that must be enforced. So you see some wearing the gear. Those who are not part of it, they drive normally without shirts, without gear, without anything. So you see them without wearing the gear. But bike clubs have rules that must be, and policies that must be enforced, which is why you see some wearing it and some are not wearing it. Now for me, I have an issue with the bikers just because they tend to drive. They swerve and they want to be on the left when they should not. They should be able to take it on the right. So some of them don't always follow the traffic rules on the road.
Thank you, Mrs. Williams. I know she answered a lot more than my question. Do we have another driver who would like to contribute? What do you think of to make, what creates a need for you to drive carefully, if anything?
Good day, everyone. What I would say would influence me, when I just started driving, I cannot lie, I used to drive fast. And I used to, run the road to reach where I'm going. But at a certain point, I started shooting a lot of funerals, taking on photos and so on. And then I started to see the amount of sadness. That's what made it for me, to start being more careful. Because I see the amount of sadness that you leave behind, people you leave behind, the lives that you could have lived if you're just careful, the accidents you could have avoided. So I realized that you always reach where you have to reach. You can be slow, you can drive fast, you're more strict, so it's better if you take your time. You have to think about everyone else on the road, other than just yourself, because everyone has a life, a family, people that they are going to leave behind. So if you drive carefully, you can save yourself an accident, or at least if you get into an accident, you survive, because speed causes a lot of accidents. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bello. So he thinks of the potential tragedy, and that influences his carefulness. Okay, yes.
Miss, as a professional driver, excuse me, good afternoon, everyone. As a professional driver, other people's lives are in my hands. So when I go behind the wheel, I have to think of not only myself, my passengers, but also everyone on the street, the pedestrian, the other reckless drivers, the other sick drivers. I have to think of everyone. So what motivates me is love of life. So because I love life, I don't want to be the cause of someone losing their life or not living their life that they ought to because of my reckless driving or someone else's reckless driving. I am a careful driver.
Okay, so the respect and the love of life. Yes, Mrs. Woodman.
I agree with the three previous responders. I'm sorry. Excuse me, everyone. I agree totally with the three previous responders. When I drive, my motivation for safety is intrinsic. It really has nothing to do with punishment or consequence. I want to protect myself, if I have any passengers, the lives of my passengers, and the other drivers on the road. And it was so interesting because when we got the topic and we started deliberating, I was the only driver of course, in the room of minors. And I asked, but y'all, what are the penalties for dangerous driving in Dominica? And everybody said, well, miss, you should know. I didn't know. I had to look it up. We found the Act, Motor Vehicles Act, we found the section, it spoke about maximum of 10 years and imposed fines. And so it shows that I had been driving before that for a number of years. I wouldn't say how long. But I never needed to know what the penalties were in order for me to be motivated to drive safely. So I think most people think or try to think of life, really. Protecting themselves, protecting other people. The motivation is intrinsic.
Okay, thank you for that. So we have here several people who have said the motivation is the respect of life, the love of life, wanting to safeguard themselves and their passengers. Does anybody think of the penalties? Does anybody drive, and this is once again to the drivers, and say, boy, if I cause an accident, I'll take a jail, or if I cause an accident, I will be fined, or if I cause an accident, I will lose my license. Is this, I mean, the people who have responded have said so far they have not mentioned this, but I want to know if anybody thinks of this at all. Does anybody think of this? And can my judges coordinator give me a time on the judges' return, please? Yes.
Sorry, I had a moment there with my daughter where I had to say something because she said in response to the question you just asked, she said, Mommy, you always say you don't want to get into an accident because then you have to wait so long for the police to come, right? And I just thought of it and I said to myself, that is really true. Whenever I drive, first of all, in Dominica, you have to drive very defensively. So we do a lot of defensive driving in Dominica, as people alluded to, because when you drive on the roads here, there's so many reckless drivers that you have to drive for yourself, and you have to drive for them, and you also have to drive in the way of the pedestrians. This was a very good topic because unlike other topics where you have a good side and what we normally call the bad side of the coin, both sides of the coin were very arguable. And I think, both teams did an excellent job. The issue of stricter penalties, it's a yes for me. What we did is that we focused on the penalty, the jail time, prison sentences. I did not want to speak about the other penalties, especially license revocation. That is something I've always felt should be a lot stricter. In Europe and places like that, I've seen it, I've seen the impact it has on people driving. My family, they are scared to go over 1 point on the speed limit. Why? Because they lose points for every infraction. And there's no police waiting for them. They get their tickets in the mail. Sometimes they don't even know they have done something until they get that ticket. And they lose points. To get back your points, you have to pay on the community service. When you go below a certain number of points, you lose your license. Not for 6 months. We're talking about a year, 2 years where you are unable to drive a private vehicle. And these are for minor infractions. And I find this very, very effective. So forget about the jail time. Because when we talk about jail time in law, 10 years is not 10 years, first of all. Then even if the maximum penalty is 10 years, you have mitigating circumstances, you have time off for good behavior and for cooperating with the police. So nobody's probably ever going to get 10 years. So let's put that on the side. But we have the issue of people, mad people, on the road with licenses to kill. And we really have to look at that. And I must say, I'm going to call out the police officers today. The police officers, so that's where the law enforcement comes in. So we have the penalties, they need to be strict, especially in terms of license the qualifications to get a license, and secondly, when you do get a license, the revocation, they need to implement revocation of licenses when people do not drive properly on the roads. But the police officers need to enforce the law. The police are the law enforcers. They themselves break the laws. I hardly ever see a police officer driving with their seatbelt on. Hardly ever. They drive motorcycles, they don't have protective gear. I'm calling them out. And when you actually have called the police officers several times and say, look at what this bus driver is doing. Look at what this driver is doing. What you want me to do? It is nonsense, okay? So I'm calling out all the police officers. You all need to enforce the laws. We need stricter penalties, but we also, I agree with Orion, we also need law enforcement to do their jobs. Imagine me being afraid to get into an accident because I know the police either not going to show up 10 hours later. When they come and they write on their hand, the palm of their hands. I've seen that as well, no paper. Then you wait months and years before a report is filed and nothing happens. Okay, so law enforcement definitely, but we do need stricter penalties for some of the drivers on the road.
Thank you, Mr. Jan. So, legal counsel came out very forcefully there on law enforcement. I see we have other legal minds in the room. Do you want to, are we getting counter arguments here from the legal fraternity? Yes. Go ahead.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
From the time I heard of this topic, I got very interested because it's so important for Dominica in terms of road safety and driving. I should mention that there's so many people that I have defended for dangerous driving. The question with regards to driving and dangerous driving is, I think, A, we lack a lot of road courtesy by driving. 2, we do not have defensive driving, we have aggressive driving. Another thing again is that I believe that if you look at the motorcycling and whatnot, I think that 2 things. In driving, I think wearing your seatbelt should be by law compulsory. Secondly, if you're on a motorcycle, headgear should be compulsory. And that would do a lot with regards to minimizing the accidents and the death rate in Dominica. I believe that the amount of vehicles that are in Dominica, I think we need a lot of road courtesy and parking facilities to avoid a lot of these accidents. And most importantly, we used to have what we call speed limits in certain areas. I don't see them again. But I think we need to have these speed limits, and then in most areas, because of the amount of vehicles and the speed limits, we do not have the sleeping policemen in areas, especially communities. I think that should be compulsory. It would assist in minimizing the accidents and the death rolls. But I want to, before I go, congratulate the debaters today. I wanted to be here earlier, but I heard it, I listened on myself because I was in court today. But I think they did an excellent job. And I think we need more of this in Dominica. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I'm happy to hear from the legal fraternity. I always think that this is the profession that I would expect to support these debates the most, because a lot of our budding debaters here, that is the profession that they possibly may be aspiring to. So I'm happy for your presence. I'm happy for the inputs that you just made. But I heard quite a few interesting points in what you said, and I want to just broaden it a bit. We are still waiting for the judge's decision, by the way, so we are increasing this conversation just a bit more, lengthening it just a bit more. The judges have asked me for 3 more minutes, and hopefully they'll be coming in shortly. But I heard some points as it relates to parking, the unavailability of that, the sleeping policemen, the speed bumps, the necessity for more of these. A personal story at the Dominica State College, because of the risk associated with traffic on the main road, of course, which is outside the Dominica State College, the campus, people speeding and possibly risking the lives of the students who walk up and down the hill all the time. We had to ask for the installment of speed bumps, and also recently we put keep clear signs all along the perimeter of the campus, and people were mad, big mad, very upset. Social media comments, spoke of it being madness to put those keep clear signs, and even the speed bumps were not very appreciated. So my question is, do we as the population, sometimes in our own thoughts and our own actions, do we actually want safer roads, and do we actually want a better environment for driving, or are we only concerned about our own convenience? So this is once again, well, it can be for anybody, are some of the things that we can implement, those speed bumps or the keep clear signs and so on and so forth, the speed limits, that may be inconvenience. Is that our main focus, or are we thinking about safety? So when you see a speed bump go up, are you thinking, boy, that is an inconvenience for me, my vehicle is slow, I may touch, my vehicle is low, I may touch, or are you thinking this may save a life? Let's be honest. What are your views on some of these measures that we have to take to ensure safety? What are your views? Any drivers or any non-drivers? What are your views? Any state college people who were the ones complaining when the speed bumps were put up? Anybody from the state college wants to contribute to this question? Yes. Yes, Ms. Daniel.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe that sometimes these things put in place, like the keep clear signs and the speed bumps in certain areas, they are an inconvenience. However, small inconveniences such as these are worth people's life, because without the speed bumps at State College, it's such a practice of you that a lot of the drivers, they like to race, they like to speed. It's such an opportunity that they could take, and it is risking many of the students' lives that cross the roads to go for the buses, or even just walking up the road to go from lower campus to upper campus. So I do believe, although some of the implementations are inconvenient in certain areas, but small inconveniences such as this are worth saving people's lives.
Thank you so much. Ms. Danielle was a winner last year of the Intersecondary Schools Debating Competition for the Orion Academy. So I want to acknowledge her contribution here. I hope to see her debating more in the future at the State College. Yes, I have someone else who wants to contribute.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I think that these things ought not to be done in isolation. So there's an implementation of speed bumps, and I do remember when the speed bumps were put at the State College, and for a split second I was a bit peeved at the inconvenience. And the keep clear signs especially, I'll be honest, because I was one who used to park outside. But of course we recognize the danger from the students who walk up and down and transit from upper campus to lower campus, or from the parking lot to the classrooms and so on. So I think it is necessary. However, I think there needs to be standardization in how these things are done. If we traverse the entire country, we see that there's no standardization of speed bumps. Some of them are very high and sharp, some of them are large. And in as much as the aim is to slow down vehicles, I don't believe it should be to damaged vehicles. So people who do drive lower vehicles, it's very damaging to the undercarriage of the vehicle. So these things have to be done not in isolation. So standardization of the speed bumps. And then in terms of the keep clear signs, a lot of times the keep clear signs are indeed necessary in terms of visibility and so on. But an adequate accommodation needs to be made for the alternatives. So if you can no longer park in a particular space, what is the creation of additional parking space? Now the Dominica State College was a unique situation in that there is indeed a parking lot. Provision is made for proper parking and adequate parking. But throughout Roseau, for example, there are several keep clear signs and there is no alternate accommodation for vehicles. So perhaps parking garages, limitation of the number of bus stops that are actually within the city. These things need to be taken into consideration and not just the implementation of these preventative and security methods, but accommodation that is made when something else is reduced. So the inconvenience, yes, but that it needs to be balanced in the implementation of these security measures.
Thank you. Anybody else on that same topic? Really, measures taken to increase safety and their impact on our convenience. Anybody else wants to contribute on that? And by the way, I know I'm very expressive, so you would have seen I just sent the judge's assistant with a very stern warning for the judges. I want them to return now. But I do appreciate they want to give us proper results, but we want them to return, right? Yes.
I think that so far we've been speaking on. I think that so far we've been speaking about the measures mentioned, especially at the Dominica State College in terms of convenience to the drivers. In terms of convenience to the pedestrians, I feel like putting those measures is very convenient to me because even on this lane, you can see that to walk up, you don't have to weed, stop on the side, wait for transport to pass. So personally, I feel like those are great for my convenience because if there was a keep clear there, maybe today I would have even gotten here earlier and I wouldn't have to wait for transport to pass this. So.
Thank you. Thank you, Denisha. Anybody else on that last point? Yes, Mr. Bailey.
I'm only speaking because I realize I'm Minister of Education. No one said anything. My colleague didn't want to say anything. But the topic today was very interesting. But one of the things I think we're missing is our mindset when it comes to our driving. There were lots of important points. But I also think that here in Dominica, the driving school, we probably need a driving school so we can teach people how to drive, driving etiquette. Because normally, from my experience, when I wanted to drive, I got my brother to teach me to drive, and then you had the book, you studied the book, and then you did a test. Okay, a written test and a driving test. And then, you get your license. But I think it boils down to more than that. Okay, defensive driving and driving etiquette. We're really lacking that. Anyway, judges,
yes. Thank you, Mr. Daly, Minister of Education. Yes, so the judges are back, and so we will proceed. Judges, you look like you had a hard job, but I expect now for you to deliver a critique. So thank you everyone who has contributed to the discussion. To those who we awarded prizes, congratulations. Unfortunately, we didn't have prizes for everyone, but thank you for your contribution. I'd now like to call on the Chief Judge, that's Mr. Kevin Julian, to deliver the critique of the debate that we just witnessed today. Mr. Julian?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Students, good morning. Oh, it's afternoon already. Wow. Time goes by so fast. I would like to say congratulations to both teams, the Orion Academy and the Dominica Grammar School. You all did a marvelous job. A round of applause for them. It takes a lot of courage to come front and to debate, but you all made it look so easy. So well done. As it pertains to the critique of the judges, when we look at the performance of both sides, we noticed that there were a lot of strengths. Dominica Grammar School, Orion Academy, you all did an excellent job. The research, excellent research. Both teams had a command of the law. Both mentioned section 51, subsection 1, which is important. Both mentioned the penalty, which is a maximum of 10 years. Both sides took a comparative approach in the sense that they looked and analyzed what the other countries in the region and internationally, what is the penalty involved for dangerous driving. Each side presented something that was unique and something that we could tell that they possess within them. Each side, the clarity was remarkable. And the fact that the use of notes were very limited is important. Eye contact by both Orion and the Dominica Grammar School, it was excellent. The way the debaters spoke, very convincing. Very convincing. And we really enjoyed hearing you all bring your points forward. Some of the weaknesses, not so much, but what we as judges felt could have been done just a little bit better, the ability to recall the other side's point. And some of the statements made were not necessarily accurate when it comes to, well, in law we call it the mens rea, which is the intention behind the offense. Some offenses, you don't necessarily have to have the necessary mens rea. We call these offenses strict liability offenses, and you mainly find this type of offenses in when it pertains to traffic laws. All right, so it's not necessary that you have the intention to commit the offense when it comes to violating traffic laws. But apart from that, these few critiques, we find that both sides performed extremely well. Both sides researched properly. The clarity was on point. The use of grammar, eye contact, and we believe that each one of the debaters present, you definitely have a sure and prosperous future, and we urge you to continue on that path. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Julian, for your critique, and thank you to the judges. It's now time to call back to the front, the debaters, while they hear their fate. The results are in, of course. So calling back to the front from the Dominica Grammar School, Mr. Zadi Trocard and Ms. Remy Talbot. And from the Orion Academy, Miss Madlia Fountain and Mr. Jazz Maxwell. So the debaters are back in place, and it's now time to hear the results. I will start by saying that the debate, the grand total that the debating teams could amass is 780 points. 780 points is what each team could maximally attain. I have here one team has 659 points and another team has 614. I will announce who these teams are shortly, but yes, it was tight, all right? I will, however, before I say which team has which score, I will announce that the judges have determined that the speaker who was the best today and amassed the most points for their performance comes from the Dominica Grammar School in the person of Miss Renee Talbot. I will announce as well another special prize is that for, well, the judges have said better rebuttal. They have crossed out best. Better rebuttal. The most points for that segment went to Mr. Zadi Trocard from the Dominica Grammar School. With that being said, now it's time to announce who is who. With 659 points, the winning team is the Dominica Grammar School. And with 614 points, the Orion Academy. Congratulations. Congratulations, students. It was a tough battle. You, the audience, saw how much they put into this, and the scores were pretty close. The Dominica Grammar School, for the first time, the winners of the intersecondary schools debating competition. I see a lot of emotion, but at the intersecondary schools debating competition, we appreciate the effort of everybody. Everybody is rewarded. Nobody is going to walk away empty-handed, I assure you. So I will start with the presentation of prizes. Firstly, I will ask for the best speaker, Miss Renee Talbot of the Dominica Grammar School, to come up to receive her prize. The best speaker is receiving a gift, monetary gift, complements Civic Vibes, and something complements Shams Eats, Treats, and Drinks, as well as her trophy. Congratulations to Miss Renee Talbot, the best speaker at the finals. I'd now like to call on the better rebuttal winner. That is Mr. Zadi Trocard. Mr. Trocard wins a monetary gift from Civic Vibes, as well as a gift from Shams Eats, Treats, and Drinks, and his trophy. Congratulations, Mr. Trocard. The Orion Academy, the runners-up in today's debate, our reigning champions from 2024, and 3 years since I'm doing this competition, finalists. So the Orion Academy has been putting in that work, and they are the runners-up today. They will be awarded with the following. So I'd now like to call on Miss Madlia Fontaine to receive her prizes, and there are more prizes for her. So Miss Fontaine and the runners-up will receive their trophies, gift certificate, compliments Jolly's Pharmacy. To come will be whale watching tour and dinner for two, compliments Fort Young Hotel. And a gift bag complements the intersecondary schools debating competition. So for the runners-up, and Mr. Jazz Maxwell can now come to receive his prizes. He will receive the same, and also the KFC gift bag also goes to all the debaters as well. So whale watching and dinner for two compliments Fort Young Hotel, KFC, Jazz, and Jolly's Pharmacy gift certificate compliments Jolly's Pharmacy for the runners up. Before I present to the winners, I want to divert a bit and present to the coaches. The coaches take on the Herculean task of preparing students for the debate. And as a coach myself, it's not easy. So I always like to acknowledge the efforts of our coaches from the Orion Academy, our stalwart coach here, Mrs. Abigail Woodman, and this year ably assisted by Miss Adiola Xavier. Adiola, you can come up too, of the previously of the Dominica State College Literary and Debating Society, now coaching Team Orion. And the coaches receive some wine to, relax, gift certificates from the GLAM and from KFC Best Price. So congratulations, Team Orion and coaches from Orion. And the coach from the Dominica Grammar School, Mrs. Dorcas Francis Simon. She receives our gratitude as well for bringing her students all the way to the finals and securing that win. So congratulations to the coaches. The hard work often lies on you, and we acknowledge that and we appreciate that. The winners can now come up for their prize. The grand prize is a trip for 4 to St. Lucia, all expenses paid. So we cannot hand that to them today, but we have some other things to hand to them today. So Miss Renee Talbot and Mr. Zadi Trocard, please come forward from the winning team. First, Mr. Trocard to receive his trophy. Gift bag compliments KFC, gift, and his basket as well. Hold on, Zadi. The gift basket for Mr. Trocard. We want him to be able to not carry all the gifts. We don't even want him to walk away too light. Congratulations, and Miss Rennie Talbot. Miss Rennie Talbot receives the same. And I'd like both students, so Zadi come back, to come forward. To raise that championship trophy, which this year goes to the Dominica Grammar School. So this trophy is moving across from the Orion Academy, where it was safely held for a year. They kept it safe, and the grammar school will now hold it for 1 year. And let's see if they will defend it next year. So Team DGS, time to raise that trophy. The winners this year of the Intersecondary Schools Debating Competition, the Dominica Grammar School. Congratulations. Congratulations. He's bringing it to the coach. That's nice. Thank you so much. The judges who gave us their time and who had to scratch their heads in that deliberating room, we'd now like to thank you with a token of our appreciation. Mr. Brenton Hillier, one of our very committed judges in this competition for the 3 years it has gone on. Thank you so much. Mrs. Elizabeth Xavier Daly, thank you so much as well for your time and expertise today. And our Chief Judge today, Mr. Kevin Julian, thank you so much. So that is it in terms of our prizes, and I will now ask the debaters to, it's the end, you have fought a hard battle. I want you to just shake hands, congratulate each other. It is the end of a hard fought 4 months of debate, bringing us here to the finals. And debaters, we really appreciate your efforts. Thank you so much. I do have a vote of thanks that is to be delivered by the president of the DSC Literary and Debating Society, Ms. Benicia Moreau.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today I'm honored to deliver the vote of thanks on behalf of the Literary and Debate Society and the Dominica State College at the conclusion of the stimulating and captivating intersecondary school debating competition. First and foremost, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed judges in this debating competition, and of course, our judges for the final round, Mr. Brenton Hillier, Mr. Kevin Julian, and Mrs. Elizabeth Xavier Daly, for their valuable time, sharp insights, and fair evaluation. Your expertise added great depth to this competition. Thank you. A big thank you to all the participants. Your passionate arguments and eloquent delivery truly captivated the audience. Whether for or against, each of you presented thought-provoking points that really challenged our beliefs. I would also like to congratulate the winners of each round, and of course, offer special congratulations to the winner, the team from the Dominica Grammar School. To our intersecondary school debating competition committee members, debate officials, and our generous sponsors, thank you for providing the high schoolers of Dominica with a forum to tackle controversial topics with both witty arguments and carefully curated research. To Ms. Trudy Christian, our skilled moderator, we are ever grateful for your part in ensuring that the spirit of debate remains alive in Dominica. To the volunteers and technical team, your efforts behind the scenes made this event run smoothly. Your hard work is truly appreciated. And last but not least, thank you to our audience for your patience, enthusiasm, and support. Your energy lifted the spirit of this event. Let's continue to foster a culture of critical thoughts and respectful dialogue in Dominica. Once again, thank you all, and I do hope that a great day awaits you.
Thank you, Benicia. Let me just add and name the members of the Logistics Committee of the Intersecondary Schools Debating Competition, Mrs. Alicia Jajak, my mom, I must thank, and Mrs. Daisy Williams, Ms. Shania Drago, who has been working very hard for this competition, and Ms. Kimisha Warrington. Thank you guys so much. Members of the media, thank you for your effort here today, and our online audience, thank you for viewing. It is the end, and I do wish you a safe journey home. We do have some refreshments for our debaters and our invited guests and for whoever else, and so please don't leave without that. Congratulations once again to the Dominica Grammar School. Thank you so much to the Orion Academy signing out for 2025. Hopefully you'll see debating again in 2026. Goodbye and do have a good day.
This has been the Intersecondary Schools Debating Competition final debate. Today we had the Dominica Grammar School emerging winner of the competition over the Orion Academy, who has held the title for the past year. On behalf of everyone and team, thank you for joining us today.